Hey guys, forgive me if I sound a little stuffy or muffled on this particular episode. It's because I'm fighting off a
eye-gouging, sucking whole summer cold. It's driving me crazy over here.
And my sinuses just absolutely hate me right now. But you guys really wanted to see this episode, so fuck it, I'm soldiering on and we're gonna do this regardless. So, let's get started. So, fun fact, for this episode I was originally going to review Failure's latest release since I was able to get my hands on a promo copy, but I decided to tackle this album instead, for two reasons. A, since I was so busy the last few weeks, I accidentally missed this one on release day, and B, you people won't stop screaming at me to do it. But hey, you know something? You guys are right to be screaming, because holy shit, this album is fantastic. Then again, Muse has always been a fantastic band, one of the few truly powerful modern power trios out there. I've been a huge fan for years now, and they are one of the ever so rare bands that is yet to release a bad album. And for a band that's been releasing albums since 1999, that's a damn fine pedigree. And at the risk of sounding like a starry-eyed, blissfully deluded little fanboy, I have to say the chain remains unbroken. Holy shit, Drones is so much awesome. The album opens strong with Dead Inside. The warbling synths and stomping drums of Dominic Howard set the tone early, and the tone here is... And then it cuts the throttle and explodes into Psycho, a fierce, pulsating, snarling number driven by huge distorted power chords and Matthew Bellamy's outstanding vocals. He growls like a rabid dog and switches instantly to falsettos without batting an eye. Real talk, Bellamy's vocals have always been beyond reproach, and on this album, they really shine. He can be smooth and soulful on tracks like Aftermath and Revolt, and then on songs like Reapers and The Handler, he can rock out and absolutely scrape the top of the tenor range. Seriously, it's uncanny what this guy can pull off. If most of us tried to sing the way he does, we'd sound like fucking jackasses! That was a stupid thing to do when you're sick. Holy God, I sounded like Dr. Roxo. Really, everything about this album is absolutely glorious. Bellamy's guitars are crunchy and thick, Christopher Wollstonholme's bass is extremely fuzzy and forceful, and like I mentioned before, Howard's drums are the final huge strike that nail the album's melodies into your skull. Seriously, so many of these songs will stick with you once you listen to them. My top three are Psycho, The Handler, and Revolt. Jesus, especially Revolt. Those synths, those vocals, those guitars, those... everything. God. There was very little I disliked about this album, and the more I listened to it, the more I fell truly, madly, deeply in love with it, which prompted me to get a wee bit curious and pop on over to Metacritic and check out how it was. What in the actual fuck is this? What? How is this album getting such limp dick review scores? What am I missing? Well, this forced me to really put on my big boy objective analysis hat and make me comb through this album again with a much more critical, in-depth kind of analysis, and I think I've hit on some of the major sore spots people are running into. For one, this album is a really big departure from their last two records. The overall sound is a lot more stripped down and straightforward. There isn't a lot of the electronica bliss of Resistance or the dubstep-laced fuzziness of Second Law here. It's a much more raw, gritty, and visceral approach. And while I can see how that might rub some the wrong way, that's just another thing I adore about this album. I love the grit. I love the back-to-basics feel of it all. Hell, this is the closest thing to a punk album that Muse could possibly make, and it helps show us that underneath some of their more technically impressive elements is a band that at its raw core is still fundamentally solid. Strip away the gimmicks, Muse still holds up. Hell, sometimes a band just has to crawl out of their own asses and just make catchy, awesome tunes again, you know? Also, how can I put this delicately? The album's anything but fucking subtle. Hell, even I gotta admit, this is probably the worst album cover they've ever released. But again, I don't necessarily hate that. It speaks to the whole stripped down, no BS approach of this album. It's a raw, aggro experience that isn't necessarily supposed to be terribly deep or complex. It speaks a simple, easy to understand message of dehumanization, the lack of empathy, and the systematic removal of humanity from other human beings, and it's a message that rings dreadfully true these days, you know? It's an unsettling album, that's for damn sure. There are no undisclosed desires or starlights to lighten the mood. This thing is bleak, but it's a beautiful, artistic, well-constructed kind of bleak, like Silent Hill 2 or Old Boy. The Korean original, not that Spike Lee shit. And while I can see where some people that love this band for their complex technical prowess might be a bit disappointed with it, I just can't get behind that. This album's fucking golden, fuck the haters. Drones easily deserves a place on your shelf, and it's certainly album of the year material. Don't believe what you read in some places. Drones gets 5 James Sunderlands out of 5.